from nuclear powers and terrorism.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. Nuclear power and terrorism challenges for Indo-Pak strategic stability. Basically, there is need to understand the role of nuclear weapon in South Asia, that why Pakistan acquired nuclear weapon and what was the, you can say, basic triggering factors that India acquired nuclear weapons. But it is a fact that because of this nuclear deterrence, now both states, they are maintaining a strategic stability in South Asia. In my talk, basically I'm focusing toward the factor that how the terrorism factor basically influence or undermine this strategic stability in South Asia. And we have a long history, and I think I have very short time in my this limited time. I would like to brief the very focus point, and I would like to conclude as much as I can. In case of South Asia, as the global security, nuclear security analysts, they have defined that there are 4 hypothetical scenarios. But if we apply these scenarios in case of Pakistan, 2 of them, which in my point of view, like the buying or stealing nuclear weapon or building a nuclear weapon by non-state actor or terrorist group, is a very impossible thing because of the technology and its complications. And the least possible, like that terrorists they can do, but the possibility, the probability is very low that they can attack on nuclear power plants or by using RDD, radiological dispersal device. The 5th element, basically now the global security analysts, they are talking about that what is the probability that terrorist group, they can basically create misperception between 2 nuclear weapon states. And in this case, there are 2 scenarios. Like the terrorist group, they have their own political objective to create misperception between 2 nuclear weapon states, and they achieve their objectives. And the other is a sponsored terrorism, like sponsored by any particular group to basically achieve its own objective. If we talk about the terrorist organization in South Asia, there are basically there are factors like some terrorist organizations, they are global oriented, some are regional, some are domestic, and some are sectarian based organizations in South Asia. In case of India, there are almost 100 terrorist organizations, and 38 they are already banned by Indian government. And in case of Pakistan, there are 68 terrorist organizations already banned by Pakistan, and already Pakistan government has taken military action against all these groups. Now the point is that what was the factors, what were the consequences of these terrorist groups, you can say action in past. If you talk about the attack on Indian Parliament in 2001, some Kashmir-based groups, they attack on Indian Parliament, and because of that reason, India, you can say, mobilized military troops, and it was, I think everybody knows what was the consequences, almost 11 months military standoff between India and Pakistan, and the chances to escalate a war, and of course a nuclear war was more probable that time. And again, Mumbai incident happened in 2008, again the pressure from India was that it is basically backed by Pakistan, and Pakistan basically has sponsored these groups against India. During these events, there is need to understand the attitude and behavior of the individual and the state. Like if any terrorist group is involved in any kind of terrorist activity in India, what is the, you can say, proof that they belong to Pakistan? And what is basically the likely impact or benefit for Pakistan to use such kind of tactic against India? But if we see the Pakistan's, you can say, attitude or reaction in various kind of terrorist activities basically done against by Pakistanis or in within Pakistan territory. Samjhauta Express incident, basically it happened in Haryana, India. It was basically done by Indian military officer, Colonel Prohit, who was basically involved in that incident. Again, 63 people were killed, 68 people were killed, belonged to Pakistan. But Pakistan took very diplomatic way to solve this matter rather than just pressurizing through military means or pressurizing through or mobilizing its military troops. Again, Peshawar school incident in 2014, I think it is the worst kind of incident in Pakistan history. Let's suppose if same kind of incident happens in India, does India blame Pakistan for such kind of incident rather than investigating, rather than getting help from the neighbor, rather than blaming a neighboring state that you are involved? What Pakistan did after this incident? Pakistan moved slowly. Rather than blaming any other country, Pakistan just tried to get proof that who is basically involved in this incident, rather than just reacting, because once you are a nuclear weapon state, then you have to be more responsible, you have to be very calculated in your move. Then Sofagod, Karachi incident, the recent incident happened, 43 people were killed, the same old tactics, but now the objectives are new. Actually, in current scenario, because there are also many other game changer factors, that why other countries involved in creating such kind of mess in a state where the country is totally fighting against terrorism. Pakistan's military already involved fighting against terrorism in Fatah area, and of course, Pakistan military has achieved many good results. But in such case, we can also see the attacks on military installation of Pakistan, GHQ attack, PNS Mehran, Pakistan Air Force, Minas Air Base Kamra attack, additionally attacks on international airports. In all these incidents, Pakistan didn't blame India directly that you are involved, and Pakistan didn't mobilize its army because the consequences Pakistan understand. And the very worrisome thing, like a few days back, there was a statement by the Indian Defense Minister that terrorism for terrorism. Basically, it was directly a message to Pakistan authority that what they can do to achieve their political objective. And now what would be the likely impact on Indo-Pakistan stability in current scenario? Pakistan-China economic corridor, of course. Now China is coming, you can say investing a huge, you can say money in Pakistan for economic development. If India do any kind of, you can say move, which basically harm Pakistan's national interests, of course will involve other factors. And because of this terrorist incident during the last 15 years, after 2001, one incident happened in India. In reaction, India built a cold start doctrine. Of course, in reaction, Pakistan was forced to go for short-range ballistic missile to counter that kind of doctrine. And again, Pakistan moves toward the diplomatic, the way to counter Indian pressure. Basically, if we see that what would be the likely impact of these kind of, you can say, Indian pressure on Pakistan, if further in future, if anything happens in India, like Mumbai incident, if India start any kind of, you can say, move or like surgical strike or limited war type thing against Pakistan, of course, the message from Pakistan is very clear that it will lead to a full-scale war. Of course, that will be a nuclear war. And again, the whole region will suffer the consequences of war between India and Pakistan. Action-nation phenomena, both states, they will suffer heavily. Policy options. What are the policy options in this case? Terrorism is a common threat. I think Pakistan has already understood the consequences of these things, and I think India should understood, and India should cooperate with Pakistan in this regard. And in this case, there is need to reorganize, and there is need to reopen the confidence building measure which was basically taken a few years back, there is need to start again. And in this case, there is need to resolve the key dispute. Basically, if you have peace, if you have your dispute resolved, then you can move forward and you can trust each other. And resumption of track to diplomacy between India and Pakistan, again involving the NGO sector, involving civil society, and of course the cricket diplomacy, that will bring more closer to people from both sides, and of course it will impact their political leadership. In such case, I think there is also need to involve like USA or UK or any other major country, major power, as a mediator to play its effective role to bring peace in the region, or at least to bring some sort of resolution. At the end, I would like to conclude with my word that there is no such kind of, you can say, objective or result from the war, from, you can say, any kind of war between India and Pakistan. Peace is the ultimate solution between India and Pakistan. I think both states should go for this. Thank you.